And to that piece of lieutenant that's always on his podcast, bash us, yeah.
All right. Attention to roll call, everybody. We got a special guest with us today. We got Phil Wong. Phil Wong is running in the Democratic primary for New York City Council District 30. You guys may know District 30. That is the seat currently held by Robert Holden. In my opinion, the most common sense Democrat in New York City Council. It's a vital seat in the New York City Council. Bob Holden is term limited out, so he cannot run. Phil is actually Bob Holden's endorsed candidate in the Democratic primary. Phil, honor and a pleasure to have you on the show today, my friend. How's everything?
Thank you for having me on the show, John. It's an honor to be here.
So Phil, before we get into your platform and everything, could you just tell the audience a little bit about yourself? Like, who is Phil Wong? How'd you grow up? Where'd you grow up? And what's making you get into the politics of New York City?
Sure, yes. Before we get to the issues, I want to give my heartfelt condolences to Eric Dime and his family on the loss of their beautiful little son. It is absolutely heartbreaking, and my thoughts and prayers are with them during this unimaginable times.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, let's start. I am Phil Wong. I'm currently the budget director for Councilman Robert Holden, one of the strongest pro-NYPD, pro-common sense voices in the city council. So let me start. I came to this country in 1974 from Hong Kong. Our whole family left there to escape communism. And that's when, in the late 60s, there were riots in Hong Kong. The extremists funded by the Chinese government want to evict the British and take over the island. And then after, like, hundreds of cars get burned and then stores get damaged, my grandfather felt that it's time to leave again. He left China twice. He left during the Japanese invasion in the 1930s, escaped to Hong Kong. After the Japanese surrender, he went back and had to leave again because of the communist civil war. So in the 60s, he left. We all left for good. I came here in 1974 legally, settled in Chinatown for 2 years, and we ran out of space, Manhattan, Chinatown. And then my grandfather looked around and found. Well, he first saw this nice church, St. Adalbert's, and then he started looking for homes around there and found Manila Street, Elmhurst, and we lived there since 1976. So I lived here for 45 years. Went to public school here, PS 102. Went to junior high school here, 73. Attended high school in Jamaica. Got married here, 1997. Have 3 daughters. They all went to public schools here. And I feel I'm part of the community. I grew up with the schools, and I felt I could make them better. So I start volunteering. I joined the school board, District 24 School Board, Community Education Council. Then I start getting involved with the community. I became an activist, actually, and that's how I got to know Councilman Robert Holden. In fact, in 2020, I helped organize the largest Back the Blue Support NYPD rally in Queens at the height of the riots and pandemic. And I've spent the last several years working behind the scenes to ensure that our police officers in our neighborhoods get the support they deserve. I helped Councilman Holden elected back in 2017. I own a small business at home as a patent translator. Well, before that, I was doing websites, web content in several languages, and from that transition into translating patents. My clients are mostly law firms that have to file patents in Asia, parts of Asia, Taiwan, Hong Kong, or China, and then I take the English patents here and I translate it into Chinese, and then they get filed. So I did that for about 15 years. Almost 20 years, and then I got a call from Councilman Holden back in October 2023. He needed someone in his office to do budget and constituent services, and I got involved. And since then, I worked in his office, get to know City Hall, get to know the ins and outs of nonprofits around here in the district. Last October, he called me into his office, and he said he's term limited, and he wants me to run, and he will endorse me if I decide to do so. So I consulted my wife, consulted my 3 daughters, and then I said yes, and that's how I got involved. But there was a moment of revelation because I've been to so many rallies, so many protests, that what it really matters is not the people that's chanting or screaming outside at the hearing rooms or at the City Hall steps. What really matters is in the room, at the table, with the other council members. That's when you make a real difference. So with that in mind, I said yes to Councilman Holden, and here I am.
Nah, I mean, but you were pretty political active prior to announcing your run. You were involved in politics, right? You said yourself you were an activist, height of the defund police movement. You put together a rally of over 1,000 people, right? 2 rallies, 2 separate rallies to back the blue, to stand up for common sense in your community. Yes. What like for you, like what was the driving factor? I know Bob Holden said he would endorse you, but what was the driving factor, like to really make you get into politics in New York City? And like what are you seeing, like, on the face of it? Like what is your thought when you look at the political landscape in New York City?
It all started back in 2014 when how did I become an activist? I think I should answer that first. Back in 2014, Mayor de Blasio shut down the Pan Am Hotel, which is at the end of my block on Queens Boulevard.
Familiar with past a lot of times. Very familiar.
Yes. It's been there since the 60s. Very well known because it was open for the World's Fair. They bus people to the fair and back. Very well known place. Very beautiful hotel. But de Blasio closed it down, and then overnight bussed over 650 homeless residents and took over the whole hotel. And what happened was in the middle of the night, nobody knows. In the morning, out of the 650, there were 65 kids. 65 kids in the shelter that was sent to the local public school, PS 102. And that's where my daughters were attending school. And they wanted seats there. Now, this district is one of the most crowded school districts in the city, and if not the second. PS 102 never had 165 open seats. It doesn't have the classrooms, the books, the desks, nothing. So the principal was running around. I saw a lot of that, trying to find space for the 65 kids. So at the end, they end up occupying a part of the gym, part of the cafeteria, and part of the auditorium. And that disrupted everybody's schedules. Like the rest of the school, the lunch periods got moved. I remember my daughter missing a couple of gym classes. She no longer could use the stage for like assembly and other after school activities. So everyone was affected, and I was outraged because how could the principal not know that 65 kids are coming? And it took him several months to order the supplies and books for the kids to settle down. And that's when I got involved. I got the parents together, and then we start going to hearings. We got involved with the community advisory board with the shelter. And then that's when we realized the shelter is a business, is a money-making business to keep the homeless in the system. There's no interest, there's no incentives in the contract to get people out of the shelter and put them into housing, affordable housing. These shelter operators get paid by the number of people living in the shelter. So they don't want to lose people. They don't want to move people out. Every time they move out, they lose money. So we realized that very quickly. It's a warehousing policy. And to this day, we're still looking at a warehousing policy, not only for the real homeless, is a warehousing policy for the migrants. I'll get to that in a minute. So that started it. We looked up the laws and then realized that because it's a family shelter, every room needs to have a kitchen. And they violated the law. The de Blasio looked the other way. So we went to Senator Toby Stavinsky, I was senator at the time. We went to the councilman Daniel Drum at the time, and they have to agree. City is breaking their own laws. So after that, thank you to Senator Toby Stavinsky, the city put in kitchens and reduced the population to more humane levels by a third. Now we're looking at about 400 residents living in the shelter with a lot more livable conditions because they have cooking facilities, and then now they have more people who are paying attention to the well-being of the homeless. But that started it, my involvement in the community, and then the rest came one wave after another. The Mayor de Blasio wanted to cancel the specialized high school tests. So instead of admitting kids by a test or by merit, he put in this multi-factor criteria involving income, race, where the kids live, how many siblings are in the family, or all these factors that have little or nothing to do with merit. So in these three schools, Stuyvesant, Bronx High School of Science, and Brooklyn Tech are the best schools in the country, not just the city. Not just the city, the country. So the parents are outraged. How could we even do that? You're dismantling a system that works. So that's when I mobilized even more parents. We raised money to go to Albany and lobby. We were at the state Senate hearing room, state assembly here, chambers, lobbying legislators to get them to stop this madness, because this is a state law. That is the test that requires SHSAT on specialized high schools. That is a state law. So I was in Albany, and then back then the school chancellor Carranza was also in Albany. We're at different sides of the chambers, and we won. We won that battle. I'm proud to say that we won that battle. But then more stuff came. He wanted to cancel the gifted and talented program in schools. He wanted to remove the school safety agents in public schools and replace them with these community safety officers. So there were groups were found, and I was involved. We went to City Hall. We went to Gracie Mansion. We rallied in 5 boroughs. Fortunately, the gifted and talented program was saved, but the school safety agents were saved, but I believe over a quarter of them retire, and we have to hire them back. And that's one of my commitments when elected. And I'm going to get the funding to hire back all the school safety agents, because the schools are not safe. We see families moving out, and many of them never came back with the COVID and the school safety agents. We lost a lot of kids in the public school system. Oh, anyway, and of course, at the Black Lives Matter movement in 2020, we felt the police was under attack, and then me and the members of the Juniper Civic here and other activists got together, and we had a march support the NYPD, Back the Blue, and over 1,000 people showed up, and I was proud to say that was the first support NYPD Back the Blue event in New York City. And there were other events that followed. There was one in Bayside, there was one in Brooklyn Marine Park, and there were other parts of the city follow suit. So that was a big event. And then honestly, I did not know people are still talking about it today. You know, back then I felt like we felt we need to do this. So we bought a banner, bought flags, and shared it in social media, and we had over 1,000 people came out, all over, even people from Woodhaven, Rico Park, and outside the district. They showed up for the event, and that was very important. That was very meaningful. And I feel that Councilman Holden is right, that the city council needs to bring back common sense. The the city council members are sworn in to make the city better. But in fact, we're looking at all these laws that they're passing, that they're making the city worse. That they're taking tools away from the police from doing their job.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that a little, Phil. So New York City Council, the overwhelming majority of New York City Council, along with public advocate Jumaane Williams, who co-sponsored a bill to abolish the gang database. There's been several public safety hearings on the gang database, the NYPD's gang database. No one in city council has given a reason as to what harm being placed in the gang database actually has on people who are in there, other than the fact they want to abolish the gang database. And the only fact they're giving is that 98% of the people in the database are compromised Black and brown people. And when you're inside of the NYPD's gang database, your history is not given to landlords. It's not given to employers. It's not given to schools. It's an internal gang database that the NYPD uses not to target gang members, but to deploy resources properly around gang violence. What would if you win this seat? What's your stance on the gang database?
Yeah.
Would you support to abolish it, or would you fight to keep it?
No, I will fight to keep it. Abolishing the NYPD's gang database would be a huge mistake, and especially now with the migrant crimes and gang violence on the rise. And this database helps the NYPD track crews, prevent shootings, and protect our youth from being recruited into gangs. And now there's a lot of talk. I watched some of the hearings. There were concerns about how the database is used. Now, if there are concerns about that, then fine. We'll reform on how the database is used, but don't dismantle one of our most vital tools for protecting the public. And again, my experience, that's actually very closely related to our graffiti problems. We have graffitis that are directly related to turf wars. When gangs occupy a certain part of the district, they label their turf with the graffiti. And of course, we know gang members have tattoos on their bodies, and that is part of the database. We have to keep track of where the gangs are active, and that's a very, very useful tool. And I myself are involved with graffiti cleaning and others. We fund nonprofits to remove graffiti, and this is a way to fight crime. And the database is a very important tool, and I'm going to keep it. I'm going to fight to keep it, and it's just crazy to eliminate it. This was took many years to build, and eliminating it will just be no help in improving safety or fighting crime in New York City.
No, I totally agree with you. So, I was an NYPD lieutenant. I guess I became somewhat of an activist at the height of COVID after working throughout the entire pandemic, throughout the Black Lives Matter movement of 2020. Because I was denied religious rights in the workplace. My religious accommodation was denied from the NYPD without ever proper explanation. In my opinion, it was illegally denied. It forced myself and thousands of others out of New York City. And basically, we've been demonized. City Council has shut us out. They have not tried to get us back, tried to reinstate us. My good friend Marlon Bethel, who's a member of the Finest Unfiltered Network, he was a immigrant like yourself, first generation immigrant, came to this country, rose to the rank of intelligence detective in the NYPD, still a Queens homeowner today. And he was terminated from the NYPD because he asked for an FDA approved version of the vaccine that was being mandated. For him asking, he was terminated within 7 days of asking. Marlon Bethel never received due process from New York City. He was never charged with anything criminally or civilly. And today, currently, we see numerous members of the NYPD, most notably one who's in Camden prison right now with grave evidence against him for charges of attempted murder, where it's being alleged he shot someone on the Garden State Parkway in New York City and in New Jersey and left them a paraplegic. And he's receiving due process. He's still an employee of the NYPD. He's still receiving benefits. And I believe in due process in this country, but due process during that time was not afforded to people like myself or Marlon Bethel. What's your stance on the numerous city employees in the NYPD and the other agencies that were either terminated or forced out of employment and literally forced out of the city due to New York City's vaccine mandate?
Yeah, I believe in reinstate and compensate, and there should have never been this mandate to begin with. That was wrong. That was due to various reasons that they were pushing this mandate, but I fully support reinstating and compensating every city worker who was fired or forced to resign because of the illegal COVID-19 vaccine mandate. And that includes police officers, firefighters, teachers, sanitation workers, everyone who was betrayed by the very city that they served. And therefore, and I know Resolution 5, I proudly support Resolution 5, which would bring these workers back with back pay and benefits. And this is about righting a wrong and restoring dignity. And then we got to make things right for those who are treated like criminals for exercising personal choice, and refusing a vaccine is personal choice. And then the city should respect that instead of relieving them or letting them go.
Retired NYPD Deputy Chief Rob Lukash, he hosts the Executive Perspective on the Finance Unfiltered. He asked, is the Republican candidate for District 30 Deputy Chief of Staff Holden Alicia Vahunis, I believe her last name is? If so, what's your view of her, and do your values differ from hers, he asks?
No, I think we run a very similar campaign, but except that we have a different letter next to our name. And then I been a Democrat for many years and never changed. And we work in the same office, solving the same problems, taking the same phone calls. We work together fine. Worked as a team. We went to the same junior high school. Went to the same elementary school, PS 102, junior high school 73. And I met her while Bob Holden was running for councilman, and we helped him get elected. And she stayed with him in the office, but I joined like relatively late. I joined a year and a half ago. But we worked together fine, and then we're up to the voters to choose. But yeah, I think either one would be great for the district, and we know Councilman Holden's agenda works, is best for the community, and that's how we're going to run the office. We're going to keep the staff, keep the same office. I'll be carrying his bills, and then I'll be keeping the office cats. So I would tell the voters choose either one. Only if I win. I have to win first, and I think that's the discussion today in the upcoming primary on June 24th.
Yeah, no, and so there's another thing that's happening with it concerns New York City retirees, most notably the most vulnerable New York City retirees, those who are either disabled or are Medicaid eligible. New York City is currently attempting to bring them into a lesser plan. It's called the Medicare Advantage plan, and a lot of retirees are pushing back at that, stating city charter law where they're required to maintain high-level quality insurance for retirees, just like they do for city employees. What's your stance on supporting retiree healthcare in New York City?
Yes, well, I'm proud to say that I'm the only Democrat in this race that's endorsed by New York City retirees, and their president, Mariana Pizzitola. Now, this is related to the Intro 1096, which I strongly support to protect city retirees from being shoved into privatized Medicare Advantage plans, and that's wrong. They were promised traditional Medicare as part of their contract, and that promise must be kept. and there should not be any backroom deals, no bait and switch, because retirees with Medicare Advantage, they'll have to dig into their own savings and pension money to pay for health care on their own, and then that's not in the contract, and then we have to honor the promises. We need to keep the promise. Cannot switch. Cannot ask them to privatize. Cannot privatize Medicare Advantage. No. So I support Intro 1096.
I know you're a big supporter of police. Obviously, you came out in 2020 when it was the cool thing to not like the police, and you still supported them. What do you think of the current state of the NYPD? Do you think the NYPD is properly staffed and properly has enough resources, or do you think that the city council over this last decade has hurt the NYPD, most notably budgetarily wise and headcount wise?
We have sitting city councilmen that brag about that he supported defunding the police, defunding the $1 billion when de Blasio was mayor. I'm going to fight to get that money back. We have too few police officers right now, and their solution is to make everyone to work overtime. And now we have this big, massive mess where the current commissioner have to clean up when there's so much overtime is becoming a scandal. Now, that would go away if we hire back all the police officers, restore the funding, hire back the police officers so we could see them patrolling in the streets again. We can see them on the streets instead of getting pulled away to patrol the subways. We're getting pulled away to patrol shopping centers. There's a drain of resources that we cannot afford. Now, let's be honest. There have been scandals and issues at the top levels of the NYPD. We need more accountability and integrity in leadership, and it's not enough to target rank and file officers with scrutiny. We see that every day in the papers. We need to clean up the top brass. And it is, in fact, it is your show that helped expose much of it. So I give you guys kudos for talking about it and then stepping up to expose so much problems at the top brass. We need to clean it up top down, and I support that.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Another big issue I'm hearing a lot of complaints about, and I actually complain about it myself a lot, is the e-bikes. Yes. I feel like they've recently, in the last 3 years, have exploded and taken over New York City everywhere, and even the outer boroughs. I'm not in your district much, but I'm in Bay Ridge a lot, and they're pretty similar districts. And I have to imagine that it's also a concern of your residents as well, where it's they're really running everywhere, sidewalks everywhere, and it's becoming a danger. We saw a young boy get hit at a high speed yesterday, and it's really scary. My eldest daughter's legally blind, and it really scares me because you don't hear these bikes, and it scares me for her walking. It scares me for anybody walking, really, elderly, disabled, young children. What's your thoughts on the e-bikes? Should there be some type of regulation around them, or more enforcement around them?
The answer is definitely, and what we're seeing here, I think, also at the citywide level, it is the bike lanes are now being taken over by motorcycles, by mopeds, scooters, like high-speed vehicles that are never meant to be on bike lanes, and they travel fast. And then and I am well aware of shops that would just upgrade the motors that quite easily, that they can go faster than cars, right? And we are seeing more and more of accidents on bike lanes, bikes hitting pedestrians, bikes crashing into cars, and cyclists, mopeds get crashing into bikes. Basically, bike lanes are being abused, and DOT for the past couple of years had this one-size-fits-all approach. They put in bike lanes in very narrow streets that really shouldn't be there. and as a result, there's a lot of run-ins with drivers, with pedestrians. So I would approach that multi-level. So first, I support Councilman Holden's bill that every bike should be labeled, should be tracked, and licensed, because once we get into an accident, we don't know who they are. They vanish. They leave after scene of accident, and then they do not. We cannot find them, and that is a problem. And then the driver is stuck with the insurance. Oh, it's always the driver's fault. It's not. It's not. We have cyclists, scooter drivers that simply do not look at the traffic devices. They think the traffic light or the stop sign it's for cars. They're for cars, not for them, and that is a very big problem. And that is a key reason why there are so many accidents involving these high-speed devices, motor devices, and there's very little enforcement being done. It seems that the police are only stopping cars, and maybe only recently I've been hearing that they're trying to stop delivery mopeds and e-bikes and issuing them tickets for not licensed, for speeding, and so forth. But let's talk about common sense here, right? And the traffic light is for everybody, all right? And there's when there's red light for cars, there should be red light for cyclists, for mopeds, e-bikes, everybody, right? And it's just crazy to say that there should be dedicated traffic lights for e-bikes, or for cyclists. I mean, everyone should look at the same light and follow the law, and I don't even see the need to spending millions to put traffic lights on bike lanes, which that's what they're doing right now. That's what they're doing right up here. And then why bother? And second, they need the cyclists, bikes, drivers of these mopeds, scooters need to obey the law. All right. I don't care which country you're from. When you're sharing the road with cars and trucks, trailers, and pedestrians, you need to watch for everybody's safety. And clearly, there's little or no enforcement on this issue. Right? And then I will work with the NYPD to step up enforcement to push the Councilman Holden's bill to have every bike a license and tracked and remove the illegal ones from the streets. We had to shut down these stores that sells illegal converted bikes with high-speed motors, with illegal batteries, with that if ignited, there's no way for FDNY to put them out. So it's a big issue, and then I see that we need to work on this, we need to do more enforcement, and we need to educate the drivers of these bikes that they have to obey the laws, just like the drivers, car drivers.
Yeah, totally agree with you. And the thing is, it's not just a pedestrian and traffic safety issue; it's also a crime issue, because there's a lot of robbery patterns that stem from people using e-bikes or bikes. So requiring them to have a registration would stop a lot of those robbery patterns that we're seeing throughout the city. And that's one thing I think city council completely misses. Like, they completely miss that. They're like, oh, you're just going after and targeting bikers. It's like, well, some of them are committing crimes, and then a lot of them are driving very recklessly and creating dangerous situations for everybody, for the cars, for the pedestrians, and they're just ignoring that. So I totally agree with you.
Then these unlicensed e-bikes, scooters, mopeds should have never been sold. Why should, just like we don't sell cars with no license plates. We don't sell trucks with no license plates. So why are we selling these e-bikes and converted them to go 30, 40 miles an hour with no license plates? Come on, it's common sense. Yes, is now as being criminals are using that to commit crimes, and yeah, we see it, and then until it's fixed, we're going to see more of this, and then everybody are targets. So when when they need to rob somebody, everybody is a victim, and nobody is exempt. So yes, I'm for regulating bikes, e-bikes, mopeds, scooters. Absolutely.
Marianne Pizzatola weighs in, head of the retirees union. She says Phil is the only Democrat in District 30 supporting retirees. The other, Dermot Smith, is employed by the UFT, who started this mess, and Dermot would not sign our pledge to support us. Dermot is also funded by the political machine and lobbyists. Thank you, Phil, for supporting us. So, so she weighed in. Marianne, hope all is well.
Thank you.
Great friend to New York City retirees. So she just wanted to give you that. And Ron Layson, former inspector, commanding officer of the 111 precinct, also a member of the Finest Unfiltered Network, and another co-host of the Executive Perspective here. He says stopping the delivery drivers is because they are the easy target. I'm not saying they aren't problematic, but they aren't the ones committing the crimes and the most reckless. And I think Phil weighed in on that a lot. He was obviously responding to someone in the chat, but I think you weighed in on common sense enforcement, right? Like let's go after the most problematic abusers of these e-bikes, like not harm people who are working,
I think there's two prongs to this. We got to stop the e-bikes that are those illegal ones that are speeding, that don't obey traffic devices, right? And then that group involves food delivery workers and others come from the country where there are no laws regulating bikes, But then we have the criminal aspect. That's when you mentioned that they drive around looking for people to snatch their phones or jewelry, and that aspect will need to track where the bikes are. They have to be licensed and so forth. And then I am for tracking e-bikes. I think that there should be a database of these bikes, just like motor vehicles have a database of license plates.
Well, a big topic in, I know it hasn't hit your borough yet, but a big topic in New York City currently is congestion pricing. Yes. And, the outer boroughs feel that it will be brought to them at some point in the high traffic areas, the high business districts. What's your take on congestion pricing?
Yeah, well, congestion pricing affects everybody, because yes, it relieves congestion in downtown Manhattan, but what you're doing is you're shifting the congestion into North Manhattan, the Bronx, and then into Staten Island and Brooklyn. The same trucks that are delivering goods to parts of Queens, Brooklyn, and Long Island, they still have to make the same deliveries. So to save money, they detour. They'll cut through the George Washington. They'll cut through the Verrazano, bypassing Holland Tunnel or Lincoln Tunnel. So the congestion is still there. Is that you're not reading about it? You're not because they want to glorify the benefits of congestion pricing. But over here, we notice that the prices are going up because the goods, take any supermarket or restaurant, when they rely on deliveries from farms in Jersey, Pennsylvania, every delivery costs more, and the owner will have to pay for it, and they have to transfer those costs to the consumer. So we feel it too, that everybody is a victim here. It's not just Manhattan or not just the drivers that have to pay. We have to pay. And there's no benefit of that while the MTA allows several $1 million in fare evasion, and there's no enforcement there. I mean, if MTA can get everybody to pay for their bus and subway rides, we don't need congestion pricing, right? And of course, you look back for years and years, MTA has budget gaps every single year. They're like a bottomless pit. There's no accountability. There's no independent unit that will audit to eliminate waste. So every year they need more money, and the governor has to come up with new ways to fund the MTA through more surcharges, more congestion pricing. Perhaps even they're talking about it to do it over here in Queens. Where does it end? They'll pick any intersection and say, "Oh, that's congested. Let's start charging the drivers." There's no end to this. drivers do not use the subways, why should their money to go into fixing the subways? I mean, who's going to pay to fix the roads if or the drivers are paying to fix the subways? I mean, come on, right? So there's a better way to do it, and I think congestion pricing is wrong. It just victimizes the drivers while trying, then the money goes to this bottomless pit MTA. I think it's more effective to enforce to do make everyone pay this affairs and audit MTA and come up with savings, just like Dodge in the federal government.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Eric Adams' administration has come under fire recently for a lot of things. One of the things I believe is a lazy style of dealing with mentally ill, drug addicted, and the homeless. We see that, he's deployed numerous officers on trains from the call from Kathy Hochul. And what they're doing is they're locking up homeless people and mentally ill people, which are basically processed through the system. It's costing the city millions of dollars. Rank and file police officers really don't want to arrest people especially homeless and mentally ill, for minor crimes such as being outstretched on a subway car or on a subway station without first offering services. Obviously the police understand that there has to be some type of arm if you're unwilling to go, if you are in fact a danger to yourself or others. But he's coming under fire for not the lazy style approach that he's taking, but numerous members of city council are talking about involuntary removals of emotionally disturbed people and mentally ill and homeless, and saying that the police shouldn't have that authority. So mentally ill and homeless, when they become a danger to themselves or others in years past, let's just give the example of it's -5 degrees in New York City, and there's a man with no shoes on the streets in New York, and he's not committing a crime, but he won't go in, and surely he would die if we leave him out on the street that night. An involuntary removal would be removing that individual to the hospital for a doctor's evaluation, not for a criminal charge. What's your stance on involuntary removal and as it relates to NYPD?
We know for a fact that if a person have mental health issues, they do not know how to take care of themselves. Right, and letting them sleeping in subway stations or under the highway or in the train cars would basically giving them a slow death. Right now, NYPD is not trained to handle patients with mental health issues. As far as I know, they are not mental health consultants. Way back, MTA had a whole crew that will identify homeless and will approach them. They have counselors, and then the counselors are back with social workers that will relocate them to an appropriate site where they can receive not just a bed or a shelter, but also mental health services, which I think is very important. And any person that's homeless, if you let them sleep in the subways for a couple weeks, couple months, they will develop mental health issues. That includes myself. Right? You tell me to sleep in the subways, I'll be screaming, and I'll be looking for people to yell at, attack. And what this is a health issue. I would treat it as a health issue with really all hands on deck. That the NYPD will have to work with them to get people into clinics, hospitals, and you have to keep track of them. And if you don't keep track of them, they don't know how to return to the clinic for follow-up visits or treatments or medication. And that is something we totally dropped the ball on. And it's not, you cannot arrest your way out of a homeless problem. You cannot arrest your way out of a mental health issue problem. This is mostly a social issue that requires a team of I would say counselors and even medical professionals on site to determine what kind of help the person needs, and then they are not just in subway cars; they are at the end of every train station my train station, Grand Avenue, and over here every night, each end, then go to this end and the other end. There's people bringing in sleeping bags, cardboards to sleep there, and they never get visited, and then to seek relief, they start drinking, start doing drugs, and then fights break out. They get robbed, they get assaulted. It's a very, really bad situation, and so unfortunate. We're not facing this. And then, if elected, when elected, I will ask for this whole task force to be formed, with Homeless Services and Department of Mental Health, Hygiene, and with the NYPD's help, we have to visit every station, every highway, every bridge, to identify these people and offer real help. Right now, the police gets blamed for this, and it's wrong. It's unfair.
Yeah, no, it really puts them in a bad spot, and they're being ordered to make arrests that they don't want to make, and those arrests are declined prosecution over and over again, because as they should be, because we shouldn't be charging homeless people for being mentally ill. I mean,
that's
so
right.
it's a lazy approach is what we're currently doing.
Right, sorry. And then meanwhile, we're throwing billions, 2.2 billion every year to house these migrants that just walk over the border. While the real homeless gets neglected.
And that's a great point, and that brings me to my next question. Eric Adams, it took him an indictment and it took him about 3 years and an upcoming election to get right on this issue, but I think he's finally saying that people here illegally we shouldn't support after spending 20 times more than every other sanctuary city combined. What are your thoughts about people being here illegally, whether they are criminals or not? Should New York City residents be footing the bill for either? And should we cooperate with the federal government when they're seeking to deport people here illegally?
That's a multi-part question, which I will answer now. Yes, sanctuary city laws has been around since Mayor Koch, but back then our borders were closed. We don't have tens of thousands of people coming or being bused to New York City, right? But now, with 4 years of the previous president, when the borders are wide open, we have several 100,000 or millions of them coming in with no hearing. They just walk in, and the city would not while not getting help from Washington, is using its own money to put them in the hotels, giving them debit cards, giving them health care. And that's utter madness, because that money is not from trees, is being shaved off from other agencies, from police departments, firefighters, sanitation, libraries, schools, parks, and so we are suffering while the city is housing them into like fancy hotels, giving them access to health care and all these other services. And meanwhile, they cannot work. They have nowhere to go. What do? They end up stealing, breaking into cars, breaking into homes. This is certainly happening here and elsewhere. So why are we even doing this while we're getting no help from D.C.? So I think the mayor, Eric Adams, is slowly coming to senses that, hey, we cannot do this forever. It will bankrupt the city. We need to ask them, hey, look, there's nothing for you to do. Your choice is we'll give you a one-way ticket back home, or if you want to go to another city, we'll send you to another city. We cannot sustain this. We are in this spike in crime with migrants, gang violence, and a lot of that had to do with these illegals coming in with nothing to do, right? If they have work, then they can stay out of trouble. But they have nothing to do. So what do? Hovering around, stealing, robbing, even sexually assaulting. We have kids getting assaulted. Never before. We have a city of kids that get robbed, kids getting shot. All this we have never heard of. A couple of years ago, for the past couple of years, when Bloomberg was mayor, Giuliani was mayor, none of this happened. and we're seeing a spike now. And then we have to address that. And then Eric Adams has been looking the other way for far too long, and I think it will affect the upcoming election. On how would the next mayor have to know how to handle migrants and the sanctuary city law. Oh, let me bring that up. I went to several hearings of the city council independent charter commission, and I proposed to have a referendum to remove the sanctuary city laws because it hurts the city, and we shouldn't be entertaining that, and they should not apply to the city because of these several hundred thousands or millions of migrants we have to handle every year. The sanctuary city law needs to be taken away, or it has to have a serious look. It doesn't work.
Are you planning to endorse anybody for New York City mayor?
No, I have not. I don't plan to because there's so many people running for mayors, and then I think all of them have not shown to really be the clear person that can fix up New York City. So no, I'm not. We have Cuomo that's done so much damage to the city with his bail reforms, with his his wheat stores, and closing down the jails in upstate, closing down the nuclear power plant. Now we have an electricity shortage right now. So all this came from Cuomo. And no, I think he's bad for the city. And the others, there are no clear candidate that I should endorse. So
yeah, I think that's totally fair.
Yes.
I unfortunately agree with you. So,
yes, it's true.
To say it's state of affairs,
I have relatives from my wife's side. I have relatives from my mom's side that they died alone in nursing homes, in a room that they never left, and they were never given a farewell, never given a proper funeral. So I cannot forgive Cuomo for that.
I don't blame you at all. What is there anything particularly that the residents of your district are facing that's being brought down by city government, either city council or the mayor, that you want to highlight here?
Well, I keep track of the councilman's bills, and Councilman Holden has a bill to restore qualified immunity for police officers, and I fully support that. And if an officer acts in good faith to protect the public, they shouldn't be financially destroyed by these lawsuits. And if politicians want to take that protection away, then they should lose their immunity also, and not just the police. So it's just not right. The electeds have immunity, but not the police officers who's trying to do their job. So I support that bill.
Wow.
And we spoke about bail reform a minute ago. Bail reform turned our justice system into this revolving door. Violent offenders, repeat offenders, they get released on the streets before the officers finish their paperwork. So we see that happening everywhere, especially here. Judges need discretion, and public safety cannot take a back seat to ideologies. Criminals need to know their consequences when commit a crime. And I want to talk about myself. I've been a budget director for a year and 6 months. I have worked to make sure that the police precincts have what they need, whether that's equipment or community outreach funding or mental health support through programs like PAPA, POPPA. So I've also secured funding for domestic violence prevention and youth services that keep people safe before crime happens. And I think these programs should there should be more funding to these programs because they help reduce crime significantly way before it begins. So I want to bring that up, that I support these programs and I support funding for local precincts so they have all the tools they need to fight crime.
Yeah, no, I think that just to go back on the qualified immunity, like
sure.
It really was. It took defund the police a step further towards abolish the police, because what city council did by voting against qualified immunity for New York City police officers is they basically told the public that even if an officer acts within good faith, according to their training and according to the law, which is qualified immunity, by the way, which means if you are acting in good faith, according to your training and according to the law, that the city of New York indemnifies you for the actions that we put you in. So same as a company that employs you, that as part of your duties, you do something and you receive a lawsuit for, that company should indemnify you. You shouldn't be held personally responsible for that. And really what that was, in my opinion, was an abolish the police. Because I said, if you're going to go to a 911 job and be held responsible, and they're going to say, well, it's your fault, if you would have got there a minute quicker, that house wouldn't have burned to the ground, which is, which could be false or not false, but you acted within good faith, according to your training, according to the law. Why should you be bankrupted and sued and held responsible for that? And unfortunately, like, a lot of people just let a lot of members of city council get away with that, including the PBA and the DEA and the LBA and the CEA, and actually funded a lot of people that voted to not only defund the police, but to remove qualified immunity from police officers. And it's honestly disgraceful. Are you seeking any of the endorsements of any of the police unions?
Well, I was interviewed by the several police unions, and they have not taken the position to endorse me yet. But I believe the police officers, because they lost qualified immunity, many of them are hesitant to take the initiative to step up to stop an event from happening or from a crime in progress. And that really hurts the morale of NYPD, and that also affects the recruitment. So we need to bring back the restore qualified immunity to build a stronger police force, so people would sign up to join NYPD again, and they could do their job. And I feel that's true everywhere, especially for this district. We need more police officers. They're patrolling the streets. Seeing them present is a very effective way to prevent crime, not just to reduce crime. And I'm all for it. And then, and that's my position. And this is it's just makes no sense that politicians have immunity at the city level, at the state level, federal level, but not police officers. That makes no sense.
What also makes no sense is the fact that none of the police unions have reached out to you to tell you that you're endorsed, because you should be endorsed. So for those of you listening on here from the DEA and the PBA and the LBA, here you go. You have a clear candidate for the Democratic primary in your district that'll greatly affect public safety. There's absolutely no reason to not endorse this man in the Democratic primary. I mean, and honestly, the rank and file are sick of it, and that's why this platform is very popular amongst the rank and file, because they get to see the candidates that actually back the blue and actually support police officers and common sense public safety on here. So we appreciate you, Phil. So regardless whether you get that endorsement or not, I'm telling you right now, just being on here, you're our endorsed candidate for the Democratic.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. What are you? I don't know if you guys are currently facing it, but I know throughout the city, lithium storage battery facilities are popping up in residential areas, and there's been a lot of pushback. There's been some protests around it from Curtis Sliwa and other activists. What's your stance on? And I think it leads to a bigger question of not just lithium battery facilities, but as like building as a whole in New York City. Like, what are your stance around letting, we talk about all these candidates, I'm going to build 1 million homes, I'm going to do this. And I'm like, where? Like, what are we doing? Like, just stuffing things in? Like, what do you think about these lithium battery facilities and overall building?
First, I I think the public needs to know what exactly are these lithium battery power plants. What it does is that a private company will buy up vacant lots in neighborhoods all over the city. They're doing that right now, and they will fill them up with huge lithium batteries, like the size of refrigerators. They put hundreds of them in a lot, and then in the daytime, where the electricity usage is low, they charge up these batteries, and at night, when everyone's home, when the electricity usage peaks, they discharge the batteries and they feed electricity back to the grid. That is the purpose of these batteries. They are privately run, privately owned, and they're for profit. The problem with that is one, they are being located in the middle of residential neighborhoods. I just came from a protest. In fact, there's a talk about a lawsuit. This company called Nine Dot Energy, NINEDOT. They bought this huge vacant lot that's across the street from a school right here in Middle Village, and they're going to fill it up with batteries, huge batteries. And we're outraged because it is next to a animal hospital to the left, and to the right there's a pre-K there with hundreds of kids, and there's a public school across the street. And we know from the FDNY that lithium batteries, if caught fire, there are no known ways to put it out. They just let them burn. Let them burn. If they have to burn down the whole street, they have to sit back. They cannot be put out. And that's when the community stepped up and say, hey, you want the battery plants? Put it in commercial districts. Don't put them in the middle of residential homes. Don't put it next to schools. Cannot be in the residential area. Now we see that they say the attorneys reach out to our office, council office, and say we can do it because of the city of yes, which throws out the ULIP process, throws out the community board or even the councilman. The city is allowing developers to come in, buy up like the entire block, and build 11, 12-story apartment buildings without going through the community board or the councilman or ULIP. And that, let me tell you, that is so wrong, because it destroys communities. 1, 2 family homes like here, Maspeth, Middle Village. We love it. We love this neighborhood. That's why we live here. We don't want these tall apartment buildings. Otherwise, people would just move to Manhattan or move to Long Island City. Again, it's the danger of these lithium batteries that is a threat. And the developers, the city of yes, are here to basically destroy the community under the name affordable housing. And city of yes have nothing to do with affordable housing. It's not even mandated there. Even if housing is built, it will be market value. Market value is nothing affordable about it. And now they're using the city of yes to build lithium power plants. And I myself, among with 110 civic organizations in Queens, are suing the city hall right now to stop this madness. We have a umbrella organization, Queens Civic Congress, that raised enough money that we hire a lawyer to stop this. And the first hearing is on the first week of July, and then I will update everybody. But I myself was a plaintiff, along with several others. We care about the community, and we think that it's so wrong to allow developers to come build while we have power lines that's still hanging. We have sewer lines that were put in since the 50s, late 40s, that has never been upgraded. Every time when we have winds more than 30 miles an hour, we lose power here. Every time when there's a heavy rainstorm, our sewers backflow. Our basements get flooded. How are you going to build these tall apartment buildings if you don't upgrade the infrastructure? The city doesn't care. Come on in, build and build and build. And by allowing this to happen, the mayor or the city hall just doesn't care about the district. And that's wrong. And that's why so many civic groups are suing.
No, thank you for highlighting that. Marlon Bethel, the detective we spoke about earlier, that was fired. He said the City of Yes agenda is the reason the New York City real estate billionaire class loves Eric Adams, and that's because it's kickback city. I mean, he basically Eric Adams has not done anything in his first term other than pass the City of Yes. And what the City of Yes has done is exactly what Phil just explained. It has pulled the community out of building common sense regulation, common sense building, and allow things like putting a lithium ion battery storage facility across the street from school and next to a daycare. I mean, obviously, if you went in a room of adults and asked, should we build here? They would say no. So Eric Adams removed that. So that's Eric Adams' legacy. I think it's horrible. So I appreciate you speaking on that and pushing back at that, because I think that shows right there you're not beholden to the almighty dollar and to the billionaire class and to you definitely have my support. Is there anything that we want that you want to highlight here that I haven't brought up or we haven't spoke on?
Well, I attend community board meetings and community council meetings of police precincts, and every month we talk about crime stats. Some crimes are up or down, and after attending so many of these meetings, I find that the crime stats are being manipulated. And I need to bring that up because everyone is using that data to either attack the police or to accuse the police of not doing their job and so forth. First, a crime is not a perception problem. Everyone's talking about perception. No, crime is real. And the numbers I've been seeing don't reflect the reality because of how the reports are being handled or how these stats are being collected. And I've heard over and over again, the cops don't come, and if they do, they discourage people from filing reports, and that's how you control the numbers. And we need precincts to stop fudging the stats and start being honest with the public. And public safety begins with truth, and the stats don't mean anything if the publics don't believe in them. And then I think it's important for me to bring that up.
No, no, absolutely. I mean, we say on here a lot, like we read a lot of articles in the paper where they literally report a crime. They'll show a video of the crime, and then the crime is completely misclassified as per what the New York State Penal Code says. And no one blinks an eye at it. And I'm like, I don't know, to say that crime is a perception problem is really a slap in the face to New York City residents and to everyone, because it's basically telling you don't know what you're talking about. You're just afraid for absolutely no reason. And New Yorkers are pretty smart people. I mean, New York's always been a city where you have to worry about public safety and you have to have eyes behind your head because you're worried about traffic, you're worried about crime, you're worried about all these things. And when New Yorkers are sitting there and saying, something's changed over these last 4 years, I no longer feel safe on the subway, I no longer feel safe out at night, that's not a perception problem. That's a reality problem. And what this administration has done is try to alter the reality of New York City residents and undermine their concerns. And honestly, it's not good for anybody. It's not good for the cops. Not good for the public. It's not good for this administration. So obviously. So no, I totally appreciate you highlighting that. And yeah, I mean, I really appreciate you coming on. I think, you really highlighted a lot of problems that are in New York City, especially, and I know that your office has been dealing a lot with trying to get police precincts upgraded as well, like as far as like to bring them up to modern technology. Most of the NYPD buildings are over 100 years old. They were never meant to hold the capacity of officers or parking that they do now as the city has grown and as their responsibilities have grown and technology has grown. But like you highlighted an important fact when you were talking about infrastructure, right? Because what we see a lot in the NYPD is money is misused because we want to put this fancy new program in there and inside of the building somewhere, and we want to fix up and make these offices fancy, but the roof's leaking. And it's like, well, we need a new roof. Like, why don't we start with making sure the facility is secure first, and like put a new roof on before we put a new locker room in, or put a new roof on. And I think if you took that common sense mentality throughout New York City, like you said, you want to upgrade these new buildings, but your power lines aren't there. And how are you powering these buildings? I think that could go a long way in city government, having a strong common sense voice like that. So, I never care Democrat or Republican. I always look at the character of the individual, because and I gotta say, you're one of the strongest candidates on here that we've had on here, and you totally understand the issues that New York City's facing.
Thank you.
Like, I think that's obvious.
Yes, and I think the city council members need to tour the police precincts to understand how outdated the boilers are, or the air conditioning or ventilation system are, and they urgently need for an upgrade. And we cannot just look at the schools, upgrade the schools. The police precincts are just as old, if not older, than public schools.
Yeah, and that's and so I think when you look at the DOE, they've done a great job at maintaining their structures and their facilities. Obviously it's a large organization. They have many facilities that operate all the time. But I think when I look at their infrastructure, it's a lot better. But I think they have a great model. But not to just hone in on what the cops need, the city needs. They need common sense solutions to problems, and we got and I think that's what we're missing in city council. City council is a big problem. We were just highlighting, there's a lot of news about Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's district, how it was up in crime. And, myself and Marlon Bethel did an episode about it. And we were basically said, like, is she totally responsible for the crime rise in her district? No, because we say that, like, while she's no fan of the police and she's no fan of public safety, and everything she does at a national level hinders their ability to work, local politics affects your life way more. Like, who's your council person? Like, that's the, you know what I mean? And so I really hope we get to a point in New York City where there's a balance restored in not only New York City Council, but in the Assembly and the Senate, and try to really get some common sense solution that benefit the people of the city of New York instead of big real estate developers and everybody else coming in here.
That is correct. Yes. Thank you. Yes. Unfortunately, we have parts here, Roosevelt Avenue, 69th Street. That's right next to our district. That's a haven for stolen goods, exchanges, sex workers, drugs, you name it. And then residents are outraged, but very little is being done. We really need to clean it up, because criminals have no boundaries. They'll go all over the place to commit crimes, and we certainly feel it in this side of the district. And then, yes, it's not just AOC. It's like everybody. Everybody needs to sit down and look at it. Hey, we cannot ignore this or look the other way. We need to address this. It's not okay. This wasn't like this 5 or 10 years ago. We need to stop these illegal sex workers, human trafficking, and even narcotic exchanges right on the streets. It has to stop, and then we stop it now before there's major crimes, major shootouts, street shootouts. That's what I'm afraid of. And when gangs cross paths, bystanders get killed. So.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. So, another push out of city council was like the removal of crimes. Like, they took minor crimes and turned them from crime to not illegal anymore, to not even violations of the law. What's your thoughts on the enforcement of minor crimes in New York City by the police department?
Well, that's why the crime stats look so good. That a lot of crimes are not crimes anymore, or is not even being reported. That goes back. I want to say that the broken window policy works. Broken window policy works. The police need to stop fair invaders. They need to stop people walking down the streets without holding open bottles of alcohol. They need to stop people that's openly smoking narcotics in the streets, and that would lead to a lot of that would need by then they are required to check on who they are, and that would stop that would catch a lot of people that's with open warrants, and we need to bring that back because that stops crime before it happens, and that would certainly help this district because we have so many migrants that's in the streets and then committing crimes, and we need to put an end to that. And a very effective way of it is bring back stop and frisk, bring back the broken window policy. So I support that.
Yeah, and I think we touched a lot of issues here today.
Mm-hmm.
I think we kind of painted the picture of what's happening in the environment in New York City concerning public safety and what's happening across the spectrum of New York City Council as it relates to a lot of issues. Before we get out of here today, anything you want, any message you have for the voters of New York City and your district?
I'll bring my closing message. I am running for City Council District 30, and I'm running to continue the common sense public safety leadership that Councilman Holden has delivered for 8 years. And that means backing our police, restoring trust in our institutions, defending workers and retirees, and putting the safety of everyday New Yorkers above politics. And I will never pander to the extremes, and I will fight for the people who live here, who work here, and want the city back. Thank you.
And just for those of you watching or listening, the links to donate to Phil's campaign and to his social media are in the links below, wherever you're watching or listening to this. If you're on X, you could go over to our YouTube account at The Finest Unfiltered, and you'll see those links there. Or if you're on Apple and Spotify, they'll be down below for you. Last question I have, I did
Sure.
miss one. A lot of city council people have a staff. They have offices. I mean, they all have a staff and they have offices, but a lot of complaints we get on this show is that their city council person and their staff is not accessible to them, and they're not transparent. The doors are locked. They send emails with no response. When you're elected to city council, would your office be open and transparent to the community?
Yes, Councilman Holden has a system that worked well for 8 years. We keep track of every phone call that comes in, and we have to follow up on every single one of them. Now, some of them may not be a city council issue, like people may call about stolen mail or about missing food stamp benefits, missing or rejected Medicaid applications. Some of those are federal level issues, and we refer them to the congressperson. Some of them are state issues. We refer them to the district's assemblyman or the senator. But we do our best to handle everything the city, from abandoned cars, fallen trees, graffiti is a big part of that. Graffiti. We have school issues. Parents calling that their kids did not receive their benefits, although it's clearly written in the IEP. And then we go we fight weed shops, the illegal marijuana stores. We fight these bikes that we find parked on sidewalks. We find we get rid of commercial trucks, vehicles that leave on residential streets. So we do all of that, right? And yes, we still get criticized. Did you put that speed camera there, or did you put that red light camera there? That has nothing to do with us. DOT can put in these cameras without telling any council member or any elected office. They don't have to tell us. So people here are unhappy about the trash cans that Eric Adams mandates everybody to buy. We know people that order compost bins 2 months ago, and they're still waiting for the compost bins. So why even enforce a law, a mandate, if people cannot buy the bins? They're not being sold, right? So those are we handle that every day, and I plan to continue that system. When elected, I'm keeping the whole office staff, the same office locations, and I'm keeping the office cats. Although I myself was allergic to cats, but we keep them because a councilman adopted them from the nearby animal care center. So the constituents love them, we love them, and we love the cats. But yes, it's hard to handle every case. We cannot please everybody. It's just like funding nonprofits here. We cannot fund everybody. I wish the money we get is a bigger pot, but there will always be people criticizing us, but we will do our best. We will hear them out and make the best decision that's right for the district. And that is how I plan to run my office.
Wow, yeah, and the reason I brought that question up is because I know you guys handle that very well. I know you handle community concerns and community complaints very well. So that's great. You have a system to respond, and you'll keep that system. That's definitely competent. And just on the compost bins, my mother-in-law was staying with me in Florida, and so I went over to her house and I put her compost bin out when I was in the city in Staten Island. I went back in the next day, and guess what? Compost bin stolen. And so, and I'm like, where do I even get one for her now? And I'm like, and I couldn't find one. I was like, all right, I don't know. I was like, I don't know. I got it now. Now I have to get another bin, spend money. Like it's and so when I had spoken to people about it, they said, yeah, our composting bins keep getting stolen. And so that's something. So you have to have this policy. Nobody can get the bins, and people stealing them from each other. It's like,
and I want to point out that because the bins are simply not available, people take regular trash bins and they come to our office and get a big sticker that says compost bin and stick it onto the can and use them as compost bins. So we gave out several hundred of those stickers. But again, it doesn't fix the problem. This district, we need easily 30,000 cans, compost bins, and they're not being delivered. So maybe somebody has them out there, but until they get the bins, the people already have the bins will have the bins stolen. That is a fact. And then of course that's not a police matter. Then they don't even know who took it. Somebody drove by, grabbed the bin, and left. And they attract. I also noticed that the bins attract rodents. They attract rats, raccoons. They smell the food, they come. And I think it's a new issue that's with no easy solutions, because the bins are supposed to reduce rats, but I think they are attracting rats. They're attracting possums and raccoons, and they feed from them. So even with a closed lid, they're smart enough to open them and help themselves. So we'll have to deal with that. And then we're also seeing that some compost or are not being properly disposed of. They get thrown in along with the regular trash. But once we have enough evidence of that, we're gonna approach sanitation and ask them to correct this, because what's the point of separating compost if they get thrown in with the regular trash? And we know that there's no compost recycling center. There's only one in the whole of New York City, and imagine everybody's compost gets delivered to one site from 5 boroughs. I just see the logistics to be impossible to manage or enforce. So that is something we'll need to have another look, and then open up more compost cycling centers. Give out compost, give out food scraps, so you don't have to sit on them. But that again, we're in the early stages of this. There will be pains enforcing the new law, and it has good intentions, but right now I haven't seen the benefits yet. It's just more headaches, more trouble, and we're not fixing anything.
All right, yeah, Phil, I appreciate you taking time out of your
Thank
busy
you.
day and your schedule to sit down with us. It was a
Thank
great
you. Thank you.
conversation. I truly enjoyed it. Hope you come back, and we wish you
Sure.
nothing but luck here. Like I said, definitely check out Phil Wong. Phil, I know what we hit you on the last statement before, and then I kind of went off track and see because of something we said. But anything else you want to add before we go?
No, and just I'll be door knocking. I'll be my goal is to visit every voter that will show up in the June 24th primary, and we'll ask them to give me their vote. And then I will work very hard, and I've learned from Councilman Holden, and I'll be following his legacy when elected. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it. So, guys,
Go
at
ahead.
1:05 p.m. Eastern time today, or 13:05 military time, check out the Sal Greco show. He's going to have Manny Grossman on. Manny was a guy who actually identified another victim of the son of Sam. He was able to bring that down. It was actually brought back into the case. So definitely check that episode out. I think you guys aren't going to want to miss that. And yeah, like we said, we appreciate Phil Wong. We appreciate all you guys for joining us today. And definitely check out Phil Wong. Go out, support him. If you guys are out in his district in Queens, or if you just want to help out Common Sense, keep the balance, reach out to Phil Wong, reach out to his campaign. He could use door knockers. He could use phone callers, people to call up. So we appreciate everybody on here. Ladies and gentlemen, find us Unfiltered. We'll be back at you. Check us out at 1:05 p.m. today.
Law enforcement professionals dedicate their lives to serving and protecting our community. But who's protecting their financial futures? That's where Laidlaw Blue comes in. Our wealth management platform is specifically designed for the law enforcement community. Laidlaw Blue is a division within Laidlaw Wealth Management, run by retired New York City detective John McDermott. His status as a retired detective uniquely positions him to establish a deep connection between Laidlaw Blue and the law enforcement community. Our platform is easy to use and provides a range of financial services, including investment management, retirement planning, and insurance solutions. With Laidlaw Blue, you can secure your financial future and provide for your loved ones. Our team of experienced financial advisors understands the unique challenges and opportunities that law enforcement professionals face. We're here to help you navigate the complexities of financial planning and achieve your goals. Laidlaw Blue. Secure your financial future today. Book a meeting using the QR code displayed, or call us directly on 888 901 Blue. That's 888 901 Blue.